Not every quiet child is empty, some are just loading power. A pause can hit harder than a shout. Silence isn't weakness. It's a forge. Arov lived in a small village cupped by mountains and deep forests. He was only 14, but his heart felt older than his age. He spoke softly. He listened more than he talked. People around him misunderstood that quiet. They decided silence meant fear. They said he was too shy to succeed, too small to matter. At school the teasing was loud. Why don't you talk? Are you scared? You'll never become anything. The words stung and spread like thorns under his skin. Arov kept it all inside. Most afternoons he slipped home, sat beneath the wide neem tree, and stared up at the sky until his eyes blurred. The tree gave him shade. It also gave him a lesson. Even a giant grows in silence. His father, a farmer with tired hands and a steady gaze, never mocked his quiet son. He said, "Silence is not weakness. Silence is your strength." In a noisy world, people forget to listen. Those who learn to listen first, learn wisdom first. Arov didn't fully understand, but he trusted the truth in his father's voice. One morning the school announced a big speech competition. The winner would earn a scholarship to a city school, better teachers, bigger chances, a new door to the future. A spark lit inside Arov. He wanted to try. When he told his classmates, laughter burst like firecrackers. "A speech. You can't even speak properly." He walked home with a broken feeling and a stubborn thought. Try anyway. Under the neem tree, he closed his eyes and saw himself on stage. Not loud, not flashy, clear, honest. He pictured the words landing like seeds in good soil. That evening he began to prepare quietly. When the house slept, Arov stood before the mirror. He practiced his lines slowly. He adjusted his breath, softened a word here, sharpened a word there. He learned how to place a pause the way a drummer places a beat so that the next sentence arrives with weight. He read books about great speeches. He watched recordings of masters and noticed the spaces between their sentences, the way silence made every line stronger. No one knew. There was no show-off, no applause, only a boy and his voice learning to work together. Days passed. The teasing at school continued, but it no longer shaped him. In the quiet of night, a fire grew. He found that silence wasn't the absence of sound. It was the presence of focus. It was a room where fear became smaller and truth became louder. The day of the competition arrived. The auditorium buzzed, feet shuffling, students cheering, whistles bouncing off the walls. Backstage, Arov held his notes. His heart beat fast, but his eyes were calm. He wasn't there to be noisy. He was there to be clear. When his name was called, he walked out slowly. The room stilled, curious to hear what the quiet boy could possibly say. Arov took a breath, let the silence settle, and began in a steady, soft voice. "They said I am silent. They said I cannot speak. But silence is not my weakness. It is my power. In silence I listened. In silence I learned. In silence I prepared. I didn't come to make noise. I came to make a difference." The air changed. Even the smallest sound was loud now, the tick of a clock, a chair creaking because the hall was listening. Arov continued with simple words and deep truth. He spoke about how the world tries to measure worth by volume, but meaning lives in attention. He shared how his quiet helped him notice people's needs, how pauses gave courage to the next sentence, how listening taught him who he wanted to be. He used silence like a spotlight, not to hide, but to reveal. He didn't rush, he didn't imitate. He let each line breathe and land. His pauses spoke as clearly as his voice, and when he finished, the room went still for a long heartbeat, then rose as one. Applause thundered. It was the longest standing ovation his school had ever seen. Arov won the competition and the scholarship, but he also won something bigger: respect, hearts, a new story about who he was. He had proved a truth many forget. You do not need to shout to be heard. Sometimes silence lets your message carry further. Years turned. Arov grew into a motivational speaker. He traveled, shared stages with leaders, and told his story to rooms full of strangers who felt like friends by the end. People often asked, "What's your secret?" He always smiled the same gentle smile and answered, "Silence." Then he explained, silence taught him to notice, to prepare, to choose words that mattered. Silence taught him to pause so meaning could enter. He never stopped practicing what he preached. Before each talk, he found a quiet corner and stood still for a minute. He felt the ground. He counted his breaths. He remembered his father's advice and the shade of the neem tree. He walked out not to perform, but to connect. And when he needed to make a point, he let silence hold it, the way a hand holds a precious stone. To anyone who felt misunderstood the way he once did, Arov offered the same reminder. You don't have to become loud to become strong. Let your quiet grow roots. Prepare where no one can see. Listen so carefully that your words arrive like clean water. When your moment comes, your silence will become a storm of meaning no one can ignore. Moral silence isn't empty, it's full of answers. Use it to listen, to learn, to prepare, and then to speak with purpose. You don't need volume to have value. If this story gave you a little strength, keep it close. Take a quiet minute today, breathe, plan, practice, and let your silence build you. And if you'd like more stories like this, consider subscribing so we can keep walking this path of calm, clarity, and courage together.